Jordan here, and today what I wanted to do was a movie review, and the movie I'll be reviewing is The Conjuring 2. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen the trailer, you've probably seen the big campaign on Facebook and such for this movie, and the first thing I want to say about this movie is I didn't find it scary, not really at all. I don't usually find these kind of movies scary, to be honest. I'm not that jumpy of a person, maybe it's just my opinion, but this movie for me just was not scary. However, that does not mean there's no good parts to this movie. So first of all, what I'll be talking about is the real life event that it's based on. This Conjuring series, the first one being about the Amityville horror, and this one being about the Enfield case, or the Enfield poltergeist, seems to pride itself on being based on real life events, or real life paranormal happenings. So this one being about the Enfield poltergeist, essentially what happens in Enfield in London on Green Street, in one of the houses, a young girl named Julie experienced some possessions, some strange happenings in their house in London, and so yeah, in the real life case, they were supposedly haunted by a man named Bill, who lived in the house before them, and he would do, this ghost or whatever would do things like move furniture about the place, would possess Julie and talk through her, the Julie being a young 11-year-old girl, and other things like that, would knock on the walls, throw things about, possessions, floating Julie. You've probably seen that quite famous photo of the one where she's apparently being thrown across the room. It does look a bit like she's jumping, but that's, again, I'm not going to be talking about the merit of how real that case is just now. Anyway, so first of all, we're talking about how closely the film follows the real life events. So, the first things we get are the settings. So it does actually have quite an authentic real life London setting. The sets are good, the costumes are good, you do get a feel for being in London in the 70s and in Enfield. So this is well done. The things themselves, so in the reported cases, there was recordings of this Bill ghost guy speaking for Julie. They do this in the film, and it is actually quite accurate to the recording and what happens, because they play the recording in the credits, like over the credits, like the real life recording, and it is quite accurate to what they do in the film. Many of the events happen. They call the police over because they believe there's burglars in the house or something like that, and the police witness a chair moving across the room, and this also happens in the actual film. And other things, like the mother witnesses a cabinet moving across the room towards the door, and they do this in the film too. What else is real in the film? The characters are all real, the mother, the siblings, that sort of thing, and the people who investigate it. So they're all the real life characters. No one's added as far as I'm aware. Now, is there anything else? That's it as far as I can remember with things actually happening. With the things they add to the film, I'll talk about just now. So we get things added to the film. We get this nun demon thing added to the film. I'm sure you've seen this in the posters. They try and use this to tie it to the Warrens themselves, and they try and use this to tie it to the previous film, the Amityville horror based one. I think it is anyway. I've not just seen the first one, but just based on what they say at the start of the film, I think that was what the first one was about. And it's a bit odd because there's no mention of this to do with the Enfield case, no other spirit or entity or demon. Other things added, I'm not too sure about much. One other thing that did actually happen in real life is she did pretend on some of the cases, like events. They don't really show this very well in the film because it's a bit open-ended, because she's throwing chairs and she's throwing tables across the place, and to me, that's the way their chairs and tables are thrown is things a little girl could absolutely not have done. So the fact that they then say that she faked it was odd in the film. It didn't really seem to work, and it left it a bit more open-ended than I think was the case, because in real life she admitted to making up some of the events. Whereas in the film, it's that kind of open-ended way where where they come down hard on the fact that she's making up these particular events, but then the way they film it is it looks very much like she could, like would have been impossible for her to do it, like a little girl throwing a table across a room, just unrealistic. Anyway, not that this is a realistic film, but you see what I'm saying. With regards to things added into the film, there's obviously a kind of, oh, they see in the film, you're able to see the ghost of Bill a couple of times, and it was reported, and as far as I could find online, it wasn't reported anywhere that anyone saw any physical manifestations of Bill. And I think this was quite a bad move because the way they've done Bill in this, it's essentially just an old man with bright yellow eyes, and that's the whole character design. And it's just not scary, it just looks silly to me. And I think they could have handled that a lot better. And I'll get on to good and bad bits in the film, but I think it would have been better if they went on how they started it by just having the ghost be, or the spirit be invisible and not able to be seen. It's a lot more easier to build tension that way, and it just worked better. But anyway, now I've discussed the real and added bits of the film, I'll go on to what works and what doesn't work about this film. First, what works. As I said, the setting is very good. The house looks very authentic, all the equipment they have, the things they use. The props, set and costumes are all very good. That's giving you that kind of 70s London feel. And the score is also very good, I feel. I quite enjoyed it myself, kind of 70s English rock, and for some reason there's a kind of Elvis subplot musical thing going on, which I like Elvis, one of my favourite musicians, so yeah, I'll take that, but it's a bit odd nonetheless. Anyway, what else works about this film? The bits where the first couple events are haunting type bits where you don't see the ghost itself, they work well. The bits where the ghost's invisible, it's quiet, there's tension building up, there's no music, and there's just kind of this creepy, dark house vibe. And also the bits where, in the kind of first nights where you can hear him talking but you can't see him, and you see Julie talking to the ghost of Bill. This is very good. Again, I didn't find it particularly scary, but I found myself feeling more uneasy than later on in the film where all the tension just kind of disappears. Other good things, the performances turned down are quite good. We get Patrick Wilson, I believe his name is, returning as Ed Warren. It's a bit, while his performance is good, it's a bit odd having him cast in all of these films. He's in the Insidious franchise and now he's in this Conjuring franchise, and it makes it like they're all connected in a way, and it's a bit confusing because you're like, wait, are they all in the same film? Are they all in the same universe? Just because these films are all very similar, so it's quite hard to differentiate them, and him being in both of them doesn't really help, but they turn in solid performances. The child acting is good as well, especially the little boy. I particularly enjoyed his performance. The youngest brother has a stutter, and I think the child actor for that did very well. Anything else? Special effects, usually, on the whole, mostly quite good, and the score mostly quite good, although the special effects, there's one thing I'll talk about that I did not like, that I thought was quite bad. But yeah, solid performances, solid score, the horror music bits are good, the ambience music bits are good. Overall the performances are good. Sometimes, I don't know if it might just be the writing, some of the kind of scenes where they're, the kind of middle scenes where they're building character and that sort of thing, some of them just don't work for me, and I don't think that's as much the performances as it is maybe the writing, or maybe a combination of both. It's quite hard to tell, but I would give the performances a solid rating because they're not bad. Now the good parts of the film is where they follow the real life events. That being said, the bad bits of the film, and there's a few of them. I don't like the fact that they've added this nun demon to proceedings. It's silly to me because there's no mention of that in the real life happenings, and they're just doing it to kind of add a bit of tension and drama to the film, and it doesn't work for me. The character design for me is not scary. You've probably seen the poster for it. It's a kind of zombie looking nun with this sharp teeth, mouth of Sauron looking mouth, and it's just not scary. It just really isn't, and I don't like that they've added this to the film. So as I was saying, I really do not like the addition of the nun character demon. It's to me, it's just not a scary character. It's what they're building the back of the film on. Essentially, the poster campaign seemed to take a lot of this, and that annoys me because this character has nothing to do with the real life case, and the way they're advertising this, they seem to be basing it heavily on it's not based on a true life story. It's like a recreation of a real life story, and with this character, it's not. It's silly to me, anyway. I think the main reason they're doing this is because they're doing a spin-off with the nun character, like it's having its own film, and if I do end up seeing that, it'll just be to see how stupid it is, because this character for me is not scary and it's silly. And they only actually added it to the film, like in post-production. They did reshoots for it, because originally it was going to be this sort of horned demon type looking demon, which I thought would have been a bit better and would have been they could have put a bit more effort in and could add a bit more interesting character design. This nun thing to me, it's a bit cliche looking. It's just zombie looking, like nun old woman with mouth of Sauron teeth, and that's it. And speaking of character designs I did not like in this film, we have Bill the ghost himself. In the real life events there's no mention of anyone being able to see the ghost of Bill. And in this, they decide to make him just an old man with bright yellow eyes. And when I say bright yellow, I mean so bright yellow it doesn't look. It looks like they've added some sort of orbs over. It looks like they've taken a real guy, and they've put these orbs, like it's almost as the way they've done it's so weird. It looks like it's almost in front of his eyes because they're so bright yellow. It just doesn't look like it should be on someone, and it's not. It's not scary. It's silly. It reminds me of, I don't know, the Cheshire Cat out of Alice in Wonderland, like just the eyes being so bright and weird and cat-like, and it's such a strange thing to do to me. They could have just had him be this kind of, even if, see, the old guy himself is quite creepy. See if they just had him without the eyes, I think it might be better, but these eyes are just silly. It just ruins it for me completely. And as I said, the nun character, the character design of the ghost in this is leaving a lot to be desired. With that being said, the plot. So, if the start of the plot discusses the Warrens themselves, looks at the Amityville one, which, as I said, I think is to do with the first one. And we also get an introduction to this nun demon, who the woman had a dream about, or she had some kind of premonition about, that this nun demon were going to kill Ed, like Ed's wife had a premonition about that. And in it, okay, so that's the first bit, is the premonition of this demon thing, and you're like, well, that's just not scary, I suppose. And then later on, Ed has a dream. You don't see the dream, but he wakes up and he paints a picture of this nun, and for some reason hangs it in an office. I don't know why the hell he did that, but he hung the picture of the nun in his office, which leads to scary scenes. Actually, that was in a dream, so maybe it wasn't hung in the real office, I couldn't tell you. But anyway. So the wife falls asleep, I think. It's not really said. And then has a dream where she's going about her house, she sees the nun. The nun has some shenanigans with the picture of itself, and it's just not scary to me. She asks the nun its name, and you don't hear it say it, but apparently it does tell her, we find out later on, which I'll get to in a minute, which is absolutely stupid. And if you look in the background, as she wakes up, there's some letters on a bookshelf behind her, and it actually spells out the name of the nun, which we find out later on, like the nun demon. And I don't know, like, I wouldn't say that's clever, because she didn't know the nun's name by this point, so she wouldn't have done that subconsciously. And it is said specifically that that's when she found out the nun's name, is after she woke up, so she wouldn't have done these letters before. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But anyway, she scrolls the nun's name into a Bible in her sleep, and then that's kind of forgotten about for a bit. And then the infield thing goes on, that's all fine, blah blah blah. And then the nuns drop for a fair bit, and then later on, towards the end, the nuns picked up again. Because what they do is they say that the Enfield ghost, being Bill, is actually being prevented from leaving the house because of this more powerful nun demon, which I think is stupid. I don't know, I think they should have just kept one demon instead of having two. It's just stupid to me. And they almost tried to make it like a sympathetic thing with Bill. They're like, oh no, he's just an old man, he's confused, he came back for his family and this demon's trapping him here. But he's being a right dick, like he's biting people, he's throwing all this shit about, and it's never explained that he's, like, if they said like, oh, he's old and confused, but he's not, he's just being a dick, and then he's not being allowed to leave. So whatever the case may be, I kind of try and make Bill out to be sympathetic, and that's just stupid. And then, yeah, we get to the climactic third act, which to me is very stupid. Basically, they go into the house, the whole basement's flooded, and then they break up for the floorboards, and then a tree gets struck by lightning, which forms this perfect sort of stake thing out in the garden, like a big like spear almost of a tree, and I'm like, what, can the demon control the weather now? What is this limits to his powers here? Anyway, so that happens, and then, oh no, the demon's pinning someone against the wall, and it's gonna kill someone with a big spike, like it's gonna throw the little girl, and it's gonna throw Ed out the window and impale him on the spike like she saw in her dream. And then she's like, oh wait, you told me your name, so now if I say your name to you, you'll blow up. So she says the demon's name to it and it blows up. That's the ending. That's genuinely the ending. It's so stupid. And I'm like, why, in God's name, if the only way to kill a demon is to say its name, would the demon tell her its name? It's so stupid, and I do not get why that's how they decided to end that. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. Also, if they're doing a spin-off with this demon, is it going to magically come back now, or is it going to be a prequel? Well, I don't even want to touch that. But anyway, so that is some of the failings of the film. One other thing that was quite strange, I don't know if it's meant to be Bill or it's meant to be the nun demon, but basically the youngest child has this little, you know those little spinogram things where it's like, it's a big circle with like little slits, and it's got like images inside, and you spin it and then you can see the image like in The Woman in Black. So in this one it's the Crooked Man, it plays this little nursery rhyme type song. But then somehow the Crooked Man gets out and physically manifests itself and starts destroying shit in the house. And the special effects for this is weird. Like the character design I quite like for the Crooked Man. It's not creepy at all, but something about it I quite like. But the animation for him moving and walking is really weird, and I think it's meant to be like creepy in the way it's not natural at all, but it looks to me just like really bad stop motion. And it's like one of the least creepy bits of this film. I think it's even less creepy than The Nun somehow. So yeah, that's never really explained if that's the Crooked Man's meant to be Bill trying to scare people, or if it's meant to be the other demon trying to scare people. He's just kind of forgotten about after a while, and it's very odd. So I'll just leave that as that is. So with that being said, really, good points of the film, nice setting. The bits where they talk about the real happenings are interesting. The credits are quite good because they played the real tape, and the performances are decent, and the score is quite good. Bad points of the film, character designs are lazy to me and just not scary at all. The film isn't scary. I mean, if you like jump scares, I don't know why you would, but go and watch this film because it's nothing but jump scares. It drags at times. It's not really because of the performance, I think it's just because of the character building, writing. The plot's kind of stupid to me. It doesn't really make sense, the bits they've added on to try and create drama. And if this means anything to you, the most entertaining bit of this film for me was I went to see it with my girlfriend, and the most entertaining bit was literally looking over and watching her trying to hide behind me anytime some sort of scary bit came on, because she's terrible for these things. She's like the most jumpy person I've ever met. So if that's anything to go by, that's genuinely the most entertaining bit of this film for me. If I had to give it a rating, I would give it a 6 out of 10 with a watch if you really like the first Conjuring, or you really like Patrick Wilson, or you really... I don't know if I would say if you're interested in the Enfield case, because there is a bit of that here, but it's also kind of distorted and made into Hollywood style. So if you're really interested in that, watch a documentary. There's some good documentaries about it out there. The only people I could really recommend this to are people that like jump scares, or just like being scared and are themselves very easily scared, because it's not scary, and it's, even for the faint of heart, you could probably get away watching this. But anyway, Anyway, with that being said, if you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe, and I'll get back to you when I can. Thanks very much.